several languages: Dutch, English, Indonesian, and Japanese. First disclaimer, I'm not an expert, so this is based on my own experience, but I'm an Indonesian and I like to learn Bahasa Indonesia. Second disclaimer, if you hear any kind of sound with this kind of condition, yeah, I cannot keep repeating making videos, so this is gonna be my last record for this. So yeah, okay. These are the syntax, which is how you stack your word in your sentence. Mostly Indonesian and English syntax or sentences are quite the same, with an exception here. When you want to put your place or position of the place and time signal in front of your sentence, in Indonesian, first of all, the place or the position of the place, and then after that, the time signal. And with English, is the other way around. Time signal first, and then after that, the place or the position of the place. But in these sentences, whether it's in Indonesian or English, is quite the same. That's why it's called as SVO, subject, verb, and then object. And in Japanese, the syntax itself works like this. First of all is the subject, and then after that, the verb itself, whether it's one or a phrase of two, will be at the end of your sentence. That's why in Japanese, the first here, you will kind of figure it out, the verb itself. You have to a bit patient to wait until the end of your sentence, or the people that talks at that time. That's why we call it as SOV, subject, object, and then verb. In Dutch, I'm not sure should I call it as SVO or SOV, because it's kind of more into SVOV, because sometimes you get sentence that consists of two verbs. Of course, the first verb is going to be placed at the second place here, the second position. And the second verb, it will be at the end of your sentence. That's the academic or the formal way to say it or even to write it, at the end of your sentence, the second verb. But most of the times, especially in daily conversation or casually, the second verb is going to be here. You don't have to wait until the end of the sentence to kind of figure it out about the second verb. But don't expect that the second verb will appear here right after the first one, because it's not gonna happen. You have to wait a little bit and collect some information, for example, maybe time signal or the object, and then after that you just, okay, so that's the second verb, it will be appear a bit here. What's the first and second verb? There are at least 4 formations here. In Dutch, sometimes the verb itself comes in phrase that consists of 2 words. Let's say go eating or go to eat, go eating. The go itself is considered as the first verb. You gotta place it here or here. And second verb, eating, to eat, is gonna be here. And these, there are several words that if you use one of them here, it will kick your verb into the end of your sentence. with, let's say, quotes, normal way like this. But if you use one of the word in the list, in a specific list, the verb itself, whether it's the first and of course the second one will be at the end of your sentence, it will be kicked here. And there's also list that consists of several words. If you use one of them here, it will reverse your subject and your first verb. So it's going to be in first. Okay. The model itself in Dutch is not as simple as models in English, because you have to look at the subject that you use. For example, can in English is can for I, he, she, it, you, we, they, but in Dutch it's different because you have kan, kunt, and kunnen. You cannot just use can for everything because it's different for I, he, she, it, you, we, they. And also for the past version of the model itself, for example, could in English, in Dutch it comes in two words, depends on your subject. First is kon, the other one is konden. And this is just can. There are several models in English and also in Dutch, and as you may already know or expect, it doesn't come in one word for every kind of subject, because at least it has three for the present one, and at least it has two words depend on the subject that you use for the past model. That's the second. And the third one, I write it will here, but will in Dutch is not the same with will in English, because will is want if you translate it into English. The will itself in Dutch is zal. Again, remember, there are several kind of will, depends on the subject itself. Zal, zult, or zullen. That's for the present. And for would, in English you use would for any kind of subject. In Dutch, you have to choose between zou and zouden. Depends on your subject. The will itself is want in English. Of course, it's not will, because again, it's different when you use will, translated as want in English. For I, for he, she, it, you, we, they, at least it has two or three, I think it's three, to say want. And sometimes in Dutch, there are three different ways to how to explain this. The base form or the infinitive for simple present tense. In English, you just have to use base form or infinitive or with s for he, she, it. But in Dutch, you have to choose between three options, because it's not only divided into the verb or verb with s, do and does. In Dutch, at least you have three. Most of the time, the original verb itself is used for I, of course I in Dutch. And the verb for he, she, it, most of the times it has, can I say that as, can I call it as suffix also? It's ended with T. And for base form or infinitive, simple present tense that you use for subject that plurals or more than one, we, they, for example, the verb itself is ended with this one E and N, but in Dutch is read as N, A-N, N. In English, V or V with S. In Dutch, let's say V and V with T or V with AN for the present tense. For the past tense, in English, past simple or irregular past, it just has one word for any kind of subject, for the same activity of course, or the same verb. But in Dutch, at least it comes in two different words, because most of the times for past simple or irregular past subject that consists of one, the verb itself, the past simple, is ended with the or the, and for subject that's plural, the past simple or irregular past is ended with ten or den. And when you use the modal or modals, second verb is going to be ended with an. It's the same with when you put will, it means want. It's also ended with an, the second verb, because will is the first verb, and this one modal is the first verb. With the fourth formation of sentence that consists of two verbs, this is when I kind of think I'm not sure about it, because sometimes you may choose this past simple or irregular past form for something that happened in the past, but sometimes you also use this form, which is zijn, can be translated as to be. In English is MR. In Dutch, not only zijn, there are other words. And or heb, it means have. In English you have and has, but in Dutch is more than two. At least heb, hebt, heeft, hebben, yeah, at least four. So this zijn or heb, you put it at the first here as the first verb, and the second verb is ge something, and that considered as the second verb here academically or formally, but casually or in daily conversation might be here. You don't have to wait until here, but maybe it will appear here, but don't ever expect it's gonna be here. No. Or after, yeah. If this one a bit here, this one also will be here. And this zijn or heb and then ge something is also used for something that happened in the past. That's why I think whenever I ask what's the difference, sometimes I get the answer that it's a bit overlap or something, so yeah. Maybe, yeah. With this case, I can say in Dutch they have present and past. Whether this kind of past with the past simple or the past with the zijn or heb with ge something, I don't know if I can say that this is quite similar with the past participle in English or not. I'm not sure about it. If it's that case, maybe it becomes 3, the third tense, and then the future is going to be 4 tense, fourth. So at least 3 or 4 tenses in Dutch. And in English, some people might say there are 12 tenses. Some people might say there are 16 tenses. And in Indonesian, there is no tense, and there's no different kind of verb for any kind of subject. Any subject you use the same verb for the same activity, and whether it is happening now, or it is as a habit, or it will gonna happen in the future, or it's already past, you use the same verb. The way you make it different is by adding extra word in front of. For example, of course it's gonna be in Indonesian. Done, already, now, will. Yeah. So there is extra word in front of the verb, but there's no tense. In Japanese, at least there are two tenses. One is for the present time and the other one is for the past time. And now we will talk about determiner or the. In Indonesian, there is no determiner the, because sometimes when you have to translate English the to Indonesian, it's kind of hard because we have to choose several words for it, and sometimes it doesn't translate correctly. So yeah, there's no the in Indonesian, and it's the same with Japanese. There's no the. In Dutch, there are two the. One is the other one is het. The mostly used for thing or things that created by God or naturally, but not all the time, but majority. Nature or object created by God, the is the. But not all the time, because sometimes you also use het as the. But for sure, we use the for plural nouns. If it's more than one, how you know it? It's by the an. It means more than one or plural. If the noun is ended or has suffix an, it means it's more than one, plural. For sure you use the. And if the noun itself is ended with y or ch, it means the object is small or little. That's how you make your object, to say your object is small or little, is by adding the suffix y or ch. It depends on the noun itself. That's why it's automatically, there's noun with y or noun with ch, the it's gonna be het. But be careful if you find y and ch, but then end it with s. It becomes yes or chus. It's not het. It's gonna be the for the, because it is small, but it's more than one, plural. That's why it has to be the. And now the noun. In Japanese, there is no plural nouns or noun. In English, to make it as plural, you add s or es to make it more than one. In Dutch, an or apostrophe s or s. It depends on the word itself. It's the same with English. Also depends when you have to use s or as. And in Indonesian, you repeat the noun and you put hyphen in between. We will back to Japanese now. How to make your sentence into a question is by adding this hiragana letter ka. It means is it? And in Japanese, when you want to say to and then the place, you write or you say the place first and then after that to. Let's say to Japan, you will say it as Japan to. And subject and also from. For example, from Ira. In Japan, you will say it or write it as Ira from. So the person or the subject first and then the from. And in Indonesian, this is the noun and this is the adjective. It's different with the other languages. In Indonesian, noun first and then after that the adjective. When you want to say purple ball, in Indonesian it's gonna be ball purple. Or cute cat, in Indonesian it's gonna be cat cute. And one more thing is the possession. In Indonesian is the object or the noun first, and then after that the my, your, his, their, or in this case Ira. Let's say in English Ira's house, in Indonesian it's gonna be house Ira. My house, in Indonesian it's gonna be house my. Your house, house your. Their house, house their. And this one for American or maybe British or people that use English since they're small or a little kid, they use this base form, infinitive, past simple, irregular past, past participle, or present participle. But in Indonesian and several countries in Southeast Asia, we use this V1, V2, V3, V-ing or verb-ing. Of course, in Indonesian, it's gonna be V1, V2, V3, verb-ing or V-ing. It's maybe because in Indonesia there's no tense, there's no difference in verb, whether for the subject or the time signal that the action happens. It's hard to put it in your logic or in your mindset when you use several words or phrases like this. I think that's why we use this one, to make it sounds or thought a bit logical or easier to be learned and to be remembered. Yeah. And now, last one. Even though in Indonesian we have this kind of syntax with the S, VO, but in daily conversation, most of the times, we mix the words in our sentence. And sometimes it's not a complete one because it's kind of not needed. That's why, whether in Indonesian or also in Japanese, the subject can be in the middle or in front or also almost at the end of your sentence or at the end of your sentence. Or just a not complete one. Let's say, when, now, yeah, go to the market, buy something. Well, buy, when? It's kind of like that, especially for daily conversation. And this one also, similarities between Japanese and Indonesian. The subject itself, most of the times, appear at the first of the sentence, because after that, maybe you will not hear about the subject anymore, especially in daily conversation or casual. Because we already mentioned the subject in the first sentence, you already know that the sentences after that is gonna be talking about that person or in the same context with the first sentence. That's why the subject sometimes disappear. It's just at the first sentence, and then after that it's just a bit simple and shorter sentences, mostly in daily conversation.